They recently published the world's highest paid athletes, and well, let's just say it was quite astonishing. Here at home, the question of salaries of our sports stars is really a topic, but tonight we chat just that. Joining me in studio is football agent Ralph Nkomo, and on the line is my man Joe Cran, soccer Laduma Writer and Journalist. Gentlemen, welcome to Sports Live. Ralph, thank you for joining us. On the line, Joe, thank you very much for joining us. Let me start with you, Joe, since you are on the line. I'll cut right straight through to it. It's a situation that we've always asked about. Some players are said to be earning 200,000 to 300,000 rands a month. Some players are said to be earning 5,000 rand a month. What is going on, and as far as that is concerned?
It's a little bit scary, isn't it? Really, I think my issue is, and has been for a long time, is the lack of a minimum wage in South African football. I think it's a little bit scary what clubs can get away with paying their players. Obviously, we heard about Rugged and Yundu, who was earning 5,000 rand a month at Polokwane City. And I mean, for a grown man who's got a family to look after, it's basically slave labour. You can't, a guy who's playing in the Premier League, in the top flight of South African football, for a team in the top flight, you can't expect a guy to live that way. I've heard of guys who have also made PSL appearances for their teams. They're getting 1,000 rand a month while they're in the academies and things like that. And it's scarily low money, especially when you consider the fact that, like you say, there are guys who are earning 300,000 rand a month upwards. It's scary, the gap between the two senses.
Let me bring Ralph in there. Ralph, you're a football agent. Obviously, your job is to first and foremost get a footballer into a team. Secondly, try and strike the best deal possible for him, as Joe said, to get paid.
I don't think it's just money. There's also the sporting project that comes with it. So you have to create a balance. So if I bring in a young player, I also have to consider that he's got a whole family behind him that have to survive. Some families, I keep saying, have sold homes for this boy to get where he is. So I have to get the best salary for him, but not ridiculous salary, because that also can create a bit of an imbalance, because the team now expects more from him than he really is worth.
I look at just on the PSL website itself. They speak of a player who is earning 5,000 rand. In fact, I'm going to read this. Players have benefited. This is according to the chairman of the PSL. The average monthly salary of players has increased from between 3,000 to between 3 and 5,000 rands to 15 to 18,000 rands. 3 to 5,000 rands. How ridiculous can that be? To be honest, like Joe has said, it's a crying shame, because there is money in football.
My question is, what's the team's budget?
Yeah.
Where is the rest of the money going? Because don't forget, we pay to watch these boys play. Those boys are not there, there's no football. Let's just face it. So, as a team owner, you have to have at least 60 to 70% of your budget should be players' salaries.
Yeah. Joe, coming to you, you mentioned something earlier as well. I think I was following you when this topic came up. There is money in football, so there should be no reason for players not to be earning proper wages. But then the reality, as Ralph is saying, some teams are better off than others. So it's a question of where do they plug the gaps, so to speak, and as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I think you've got to work within your parameters. For me, the thing that I think is crazy is there will be teams within these guys who are earning a good wage, and I think you've got to level the playing field a little bit. Yeah. If you have a minimum wage, so say we have 15,000 minimum wage a month, you need to be in a situation where you have to work within those parameters. So if that means that you pay certain players less than what they want and you can't sign them, then that's the issue you've got to deal with. If you don't bring enough money in, if you're not successful enough to bring in enough money, then you have to deal with that. And if that means, like I say, you have to pay some guys less in order to pay guys what they need to earn a living. I mean, that's what you've got to do. And I do think it's, like Ralph says, it's a crying shame, some of the wages that some of these guys get. They come up from academies in clubs, and they'll make their PSL debuts, and they'll play for a season and still be on the same wage they were getting when they were when they were kids, and it's not on. I think we really do. I think we need to have something at both ends of the field. I think we need a minimum wage and we need a wage cap, because it's no good if you're paying one guy 300 grand a month, and then you're paying another guy 20. Like it's still a big gap.
Would the PSL even agree to something like that, even if that proposal came through? Do you think sitting there, the top 4 teams, let me put it that way, the teams that make billions, if I can put it that way, would they agree to a cap in wages?
I don't know. I think we'd have to put that question to them. I don't know whether they would be happy to put a wage cap in or not. I mean, I know it's worked nicely in the MLS, for instance. They have their wage cap and they have certain players that can earn over a certain amount. But for the most part, they have a certain wage that they can earn up to. They have a budget to work with for the season, and if they go over that budget, then certain players aren't allowed to play. And I think it's a nice concept. Yeah. I mean, it's difficult in South Africa because, I mean, when we're talking about 5,000 rand a month, for instance, that is about £250. I mean, that's an academy wage. Like that's what kids get playing in the UK, for instance. And I know it's a different environment and a different country and a different currency, but to pay a guy like we say about Nyundu, to pay a guy who is playing for a top flight team that kind of wage when he's got a family to look after, it's scandalous. And I think that the only way to combat that is to bring in a minimum wage. I think we're in a situation now where clubs have the upper hand, because they can say to a guy, look, you either take what we're offering you or you don't take anything at all. Like, and that's when the players panic a little bit. And they think, well, I have to take it. If I don't take it, then I'm not going to get my chance to play. And they kind of find themselves in a catch-22 situation. Yeah.
Joe Cran, I'm going to let you go. I know that you said you're chasing deadlines. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to continue the conversation with Ralph. Thank you very much. That's Joe Cran, Laduma, a journalist, a seasoned writer, speaking to us there on the line on the topic we're on right now. Joe, thank you very much for joining us. Ralph, let me bring that back to you. Earlier today, for example, whilst our journalists were shooting that Banyana Basetsana story, one of the players that Joe, and you mentioned an important thing, he was training alone, Itumeleng Khune, one of the players who've been told, well, it's alleged that he's asked for ridiculous prices as far as money is concerned. That's going to be a headache for you as an agent as well.
You see, being an agent is not just waking up one day and you represent a player. The first thing you have to know and understand football itself. And secondly, you also have to understand the market you're working in. Okay, it's different in South Africa, it's different in England. So you look at the market value, you look at the age of your player, you look at what he brings to the team in terms of marketing, so all those things come into play. You can't just go into a team and ask for any thumb-sucking money and say, okay.
Because I mean, what has been said about Khune, that he asked for something like 600,000 rand. I doubt that he did that, but I mean, what we hear about what players earn, 450,000 rand, that's a ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous. I think maybe for a layman that is ridiculous, but for somebody you in their business, that is what players are worth, and we should expect that.
What you don't want to create in a team is destabilize the team. You've got, let's say, your best centre forward in the team, because normally the centre forward gets the biggest salary because he's the one that's banging in the goals. Let's say he's on 120. Next thing he hears, the goalie is coming in and getting more than 500,000 rand. I can guarantee you the agent is going knocking the next day to say, okay, he also wants to be on par. I mean, there was a typical example in England where Lampard and John Terry put in a clause that if anyone comes into the team and they earn more than them, their salary must match that. As well. So can you imagine if some guys at whatever team he wants to go to, they've got clauses like that. I think the agent also has to think about the player. Okay, you want your player to play. If you want that kind of money, I always say it's easy. Put performance bonuses. performance-related bonuses. Then you say, look, I'll have a basic salary like this, but if I do this, if I save 10 penalties in one game, I earn an extra 200K.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. No, you can't just walk into a club and ask for money like that. It's not, you know. And you're killing the players then, because now the season has started and he doesn't have a team.
Yeah. Ralph, we got some social media tweets to go through as well before I let you go. Let's quickly bring those up just so for you at home as well to get a clearer picture of exactly what some of you people are thinking at home. Let's bring those up very quickly. Ronaldo Jr. says, well, yes, it depends on which teams can afford to pay those players higher salaries as far as it's concerned. And then the other one, Tito Mbata, says, as long as top goal scorer has 10 goals, they don't deserve high salaries. Ronaldo Messi deserve it. I think that's a point right there, Rolf. I mean, you got top goal scorer in the PSL with 8 goals, and how do they walk around asking for huge amounts like that? Pumilelo comes and says they deserve them. We all know that football is a very short career. So again, somebody's saying maybe give them the money because after a couple of years they won't be playing. Franz Matopa says, yes, they are, but they don't even perform very well while they demand big salaries. Alfie there says, I count more than 500 cricket and rugby players who get endorsements worth millions. That's another point that we didn't touch on. I know that we run out of time. My director's telling me we have to wrap. Just quickly, 30 seconds. Endorsements play a major role. We know that. But that would come into... Let's wrap it up. How would you put this into perspective for people at home watching us? 30 seconds, please.
When you sign a player, if you can create a brand out of the player, then sponsors would come in and say, listen, we want to endorse your player. That has nothing to do with the club. That's player, agent, and sports marketing company. So you should never mix the fact that you like your own player and you think he's worth billions. That is brought about on how popular the player is.
So there's many ways to skin the cat for as far as the player is concerned. You can get those endorsements by performing to actually supplement that budget.
Yes, you earn that.
Thank you very much there. Okay. Ralph Nkomo, football agent, speaking to us on that topic. I know we're still going to get questions on whether we should extend this topic. I know a lot of people have things to say. Ralph, thank you very much for joining us. Joe Cran on the line, thank you very much for joining us. Now, Team South Africa are back from a successful International Paralympic Committee Swimming World Championships in Glasgow, Scotland. 5 African records, 1 championship record, and 11 Paralympic qualifications.